Hello, sweet parents. Welcome to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away podcast. My name is Dr. Janet Steinkamp, and during each episode of When Our Adult Children Walk Away, I will provide my professional and personal insights, information and opportunities for your self-reflection and growth, tips and tricks to make every day count, and encouragement to keep moving forward. I'm here to help you dig deep and get down to the root causes so that you can find your way out of the darkness to a positive and lasting relationship. Grab your notebook and a pen, settle into your favorite chair, and let's get to it. In this episode, we are looking at the role of jealousy in our estrangement circumstances, both our own jealousy and how our adult children tell us jealousy shows up for them, and the role it plays in their decision to move away from us and their reaction to our actions. Just to set the baseline, as always, when I talk about estrangement, I'm talking about the verb, the process of distancing and moving away from the relationship with us. And finally, as the relationship moves up the continuum, potentially pushing us to the edge where we go no contact, where we are issued a statement that we are not to contact them again, that they are now no contact. That's kind of a thing for adult children in estrangement. We look for that decision. All right, so jealousy. Jealousy isn't always obvious. It kind of lurks in the background. It might sit in the back of our head, in our subconsciousness. We may feel the discomfort of jealousy. It is important to recognize jealousy, to call it out of the dark corners, and to deal with it. It's a natural human emotion. And so we are not less than by feeling jealousy. Our adult children are not less than because they feel jealousy. It is an important thing to understand because jealousy does play a role in estrangement. So in this episode, we're going to look at how jealousy materializes. We're going to look at how it comes across to other people, how it lands, so to speak, with other people. And we're going to look at the connection in family dynamics, how jealousy shows up in our relationship with other people in our family. So let's talk about first the difference between jealousy and envy. I can tell you in my own experience, I felt both, and they're not really interchangeable. By definition, jealousy is a feeling of threat or fear of loss. Envy is a painful feeling of wanting something somebody else has. So you can feel both. They can be intertwined. They are not mutually exclusive. So how do these show up? For parents, it can be that sense of being replaced. I frequently hear parents talk about their adult child becoming closer to the parent's sister, maybe a best friend of the parent, but they shift that relationship from the parent onto another key member of the family or friend circle. That's very common. For the parent, then it's like, I saw my sister post a picture with my adult child recently. How could they have done that? Don't they know how that hurts my feelings? Don't they understand what betrayal that is to me in our relationship? This is my sister, and yet she's posting with my daughter. Well, that's true. It's a normal feeling. It's a natural way to respond. And at the same time, when our adult child transfers that relationship to another key person in the family, it's actually a gift for us. Doesn't feel that way in the beginning. And at the same time, they are choosing to be 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees away from us instead of going complete silence. Now, for our adult child, jealousy can show up in different forms. They might feel resentment or jealousy because there's a sibling that they perceive to be the favorite. And in some cases, they are the favorite. And parents are not shy about saying that in some cases. So they can feel that jealousy about a competing relationship, that they're losing their parents' love and connection to this other child. They may feel it in competition for social media. The parent may shift what they have had with their adult child in getting information like what's going on at school, what's going on with other friends, what's going on, to social media. So social media becomes the conduit to information, and they no longer look to their adult child for that information source, to be that information source. The adult child may begin to compare how they are treated versus how we treat other people. Are we more engaging with their friends? Are we more gregarious? Are we more relaxed? Do we have a more personal conversation with our friends where the adult child is kind of getting our cold shoulder? We need to watch for those things because those examples tend to be where our adult child's jealousy shows up more commonly. So, how does jealousy come across to other people in the family? If we're feeling jealous of our adult child, we are afraid that we're losing them to another person, another loved one. Maybe it's a partner, a new boyfriend, girlfriend, new significant other. Maybe it's a new job. They're moving across the country. Maybe it is their new partner's mom. So they're actually shifting from us as their biological mom to a different woman, a different person, a different key member of the family or their partner's family as that mom figure. So what do other people see when we begin to act out in our jealousy? It can look like desperation. It can look like frustration and anger. It can look like a whole lot of other things when in fact it's based in jealousy. So by us recognizing what we're jealous about, how that's manifesting in our communication and treatment of other people, we can begin to manage that jealousy and acknowledge it for what it is. The next time you talk to your sister or brother or other significant other in your family who you see your adult child moving to as a primary relationship, the next time you talk to them, you can just name it. It's really hard for me to see, name your adult child, let's say Sam, moving closer to you. And I'm so grateful they are. It's so important in our family that they stay connected to someone who's healthy, someone who is able to influence them in a positive, constructive way, someone who's honest and trustworthy. And I'm so grateful to you that you are able to have that relationship with Sam. And yes, it really does make me sad. It's really hard to watch, and I'm still grateful. Thank you. You can acknowledge it. You can let people know how you feel. And that gives them critical information about how they communicate what they know and what they learn from the adult child to you. The other thing about that is we really need to honor the confidentiality that our adult child might be asking for with that other person, because they may be confiding in them. They may be depending on them to be a safe place. And we don't want to do anything to compromise that, right? Any connection that our adult child has in our family is a gift to us. A healthy relationship, I'll qualify that, a healthy and trust-based relationship, that's a gift. It's better that they are connected in the family or to somebody we know and have a common trusting relationship with than a stranger outside the family that we don't know, we don't necessarily trust, and we have envy toward, right? We become envious of what they're getting, what they have, and we're also jealous of what we're losing. So then it becomes even more complex. I hope this is making sense. It's a little difficult to unravel the jello here, but it's important. It's an important topic. So it can manifest in our behavior as looking over controlling, vigilant. Maybe we're checking social media every few hours to see if there's a new picture posted by our family member who's now has this new and evolving relationship. Or if we're not completely cut off from our adult child, we might be looking at their social media regularly, intently, watching for pictures, watching for signs. That jealousy can become a controlling behavior. It can especially look like controlling behavior to other people. It can feel invasive, intrusive. It can feel like our grasp is becoming desperate. If we're able to manage that, it is best for our adult child and to slow down the estrangement, to back off, to trust the person they're connecting with, if it's someone we trust. If it's somebody outside our zone of influence, then we simply have to find a way to deal with that, to make sense of it, to work our way through it. You can feel jealous. Absolutely. That jealousy is a natural emotion. It's a natural human experience. How that manifests itself in our behavior is something we need to pay attention to and manage, so it does not come across to our adult child as us becoming more insistent, more demanding, asking for more, increasing our expectations. That becomes problematic and can push the estrangement up the continuum. So how does jealousy impact our relationship with our adult child, right? We're just starting to talk about that. The unspoken resentment that comes with jealousy, when it's not addressed, turns into bitterness, creating that distance, increasing the distance. We become, or appear to become, bitter, to express our feelings with sarcasm, with cynicism. We become jaded. That jealousy, that green monster, right? We call it the green monster, although we call that envy the same thing, the green monster. It becomes apparent to other people. It seeps out. I call it the crap bag. When your crap bag becomes so full, it's overflowing, we communicate that to our adult child in ways we don't even recognize we're communicating. It seeps into our conversations and our behaviors. It seeps into how we post in social media, how we talk about our adult child in public. It begins to find its way out of our crap bag and into our everyday being, how we are in the world. If you've ever watched the movie The Blob, it's an old, I think it was black and white originally, maybe it was when the movies first came out in color. I think of The Blob with jealousy and envy. The Blob just sort of found its way all over town. I mean, it went through the movie theater, it went through the grocery store, went down the street. The Blob permeated everything in that town. It was kind of a cool movie when it first came out. It's dating me, I know, because it's very, very old. But that's jealousy. That's how jealousy moves through our lives. What is the cycle of guilt, withdrawal, and jealousy? We can begin to express our jealousy in the form of guilt and withdrawal. Okay, you're going to talk to that person. Sam, you're going to go talk to my sister. That's fine. Then you don't need to talk to me. You don't need me. Go talk to her or him. Sam could be either. Go talk to someone else about this. I'm not going to get into that with you. You found somebody better. We can become very childish that way. We can regress into junior high kind of behavior, as can our adult child. And there's no benefit to us. There's no benefit to our adult child when that begins to happen. We need to call jealousy out. We need to look it in the face. We need to take it as our own and own it. We need to hold ourselves accountable for that behavior and how that is impacting or feeding the detachment and the pulling away from us. Now, if our adult child is harboring resentment and is harboring that jealousy, they can really move up that continuum of estrangement very quickly, and they may not even understand why. So I recommend to the parents that I work with that they listen for telltale signs that their adult child is grappling with jealousy. You might hear something like, man, I could never get away with anything. I mean, name your child, let's say Joan, got away with everything. Joan got away with everything. I could not, to save my soul. I got caught every time I snuck out of the house. I got caught every time I didn't go to class. I got caught every time I was swearing out in public and somebody told you about it. I would get called on the carpet for it. Jane, Joan, Bob, whoever the sibling is, never got caught. They did worse than I did. That is jealousy manifesting itself. They're not likely to say to you, I'm so jealous of them. I was so jealous that you treated them differently. They are potentially going to provide for you the contrast in what they saw. When you hear those things, recognize the jealousy and recognize what's going on for them, because we can address that in how we communicate. We can begin to explore our own behavior, look for that kernel of truth. What was different? Was it different? What was it that your distancing adult child was seeing that you weren't recognizing? Or maybe you recognized it and didn't care, didn't think it would be a problem. Maybe you felt like that other child deserved to be treated differently for some reason. Whatever it was, it needs to be named and dealt with because it's festering. So let's talk about how we move through jealousy. Let's talk about how we move through jealousy without feeling shame. It's nothing shameful. It is something to own and deal with. It is something to hold ourselves accountable for and recognize in our adult child. What exactly is pushing the jealousy? Is there a fear that we're losing something, or is there a fear of being forgotten? A fear of being replaced? Are we grieving over the changes in the relationship? That's the loss again that drives the jealousy. And is it perhaps a need for fairness? Well, my adult child just invited her new partner's mom out for lunch on Mother's Day, and I didn't even get a card. The pictures were on social media. I have proof. That hurts. There is a sting in there. Now, I know I'm using mom examples, but this easily includes fathers, any other significant person who's being estranged. All of this applies. I think it resonates for me with moms. And I will say, as a sidebar, I did have a client say to me, "Why do you always talk about moms? Why aren't you talking more about the dads?" And it was a great wake-up call for me. So I love to be called out when people are hearing something that they think needs to be addressed in my podcasts or things that I'm missing. So please don't put it in the fan mail. I can't respond to fan mail. Put it in an email to me. You can find my email on the website, whenouraadultchildrenwalkaway.com. My email is janet@jesteinkamp.com. Either way, you can get information to me. I love to hear your feedback and perspective. So yes, I'm also talking to our fathers here. So what are some healthy ways to cope with this? Well, for parents, we can shift the comparison. Is that new mom-in-law, new partner's mom, new friend, new boss, new whatever we're feeling replaced by? What is the connection there? And think about, what is it that makes it necessary for us to compare ourselves? Look for the benefits. Is that relationship healthy? Are they likely to be a positive influence and also want our adult child to reconnect with us? Not that we want them to be a busybody. We do not need them to be a flying monkey. Look for those episodes. It's important to know what I'm talking about here. We can recognize the benefit and still feel the loss. Finding that middle ground can be very powerful in how we navigate our jealousy. We can encourage our adult child to express what they're feeling was an unmet need. Let's go back to that example. If our adult child is talking about, my brother got treated differently than I did, and I didn't like it. I knew it, I noticed it, it hurt my feelings. What was the unmet need? Ask the question, get curious. I really am so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry. I know how important it is for all of my children to know how much I love them and appreciate them and value them. So remember, we're not saying, "I'm sorry you felt that way." That is not an apology. Again, great episode. I think it's a great episode on apologies and what a real apology is versus a false apology. So ask what they need. Tell me how that landed for you. I imagine it really hurt. What could I have done differently in those moments? Give me some examples. Don't argue the examples. Don't justify your behavior. Don't explain it away. Explanations have a place. They play a role, but not in that conversation. That is a fact-finding conversation where you need to listen to learn. You're gathering important information in that conversation. You can explain it later. The explanation will only sound like gaslighting to them. Again, look for the episode on gaslighting. So there are healthy ways to move through jealousy to cope with the emotion rather than acting out through resentment, through sarcasm, cynicism, through a cold shoulder or silence. I just said to my adult daughter the other day, you can probably hear the smile on my face. I'm not smiling because it was funny. Sometimes I look back at things I say and do, and I'm astonished at how insensitive and regressive it was. I know better than these things, and I still do it, right? I'm human. We're all human. We do these things. No one is perfect. We look to embed these new understandings and these new behaviors into how we interact with our adult child. And actually, it permeates all of our relationships. When we learn and grow and understand ourselves better, we can improve our relationships across the board. We can become jealous of friends, neighbors, as I said, aunts, uncles, different family members. There are all kinds of ways and places we can become jealous. So the more we understand and manage jealousy, the more we see improvement across the board of relationships. So back on track. I said to my adult daughter the other day, when I was a little girl and my dad was mad at me about something, he became silent. In particular, he used family dinner, sitting at the dinner table, to freeze whoever he was unhappy with, freeze them out. No eye contact. It was as if they did not exist. It was as if they were not sitting at the table, that they didn't exist. And it was so effective. I said to her, it was so effective because she was talking about something with her children and it was kind of a big deal. She needed to really make an impact on them about some behavior that had manifested at school. Normal little kid stuff. But she'd seen it a few times. She was pretty sick of it. She needed to get the message across that it needed to stop. So I hear him advising her to give them the cold shoulder and freeze them out. I know that's not healthy. I know it's not healthy. I also know it landed with me. It made an impact that 60 years later, I am still talking about it as if it was yesterday. Then I have to go back and say to her, I have to clear this up because this was not great advice. This was not something that I am proud I even suggested to you. And I hope you didn't do it because it really was not any kind of suggestion of good parenting. So anyway, those things still manifest themselves. We teach these things through the generations. Again, there's a great episode out there on intergenerational learning and how our parenting and how we are in the world moves from generation to generation. We can stop the pattern. We can stop that stuff from going on to the next generation. Okay, again, back on track. So some communication strategies using the DISC, right? If we know about our communication style, we can start to look at jealousy and how we put that out there. For the passive aggressive personality or communication style, it's going to show up as smoke. It's going to be us showing up late to dinner, not RSVPing and then showing up anyway. We are going to behave in ways that are very passive aggressive. They matter. They sting and people notice. If we land in the D, C, or even I quadrants of the DISC, we may become more direct. We may use language that stings more. We may move into sarcasm, cynicism, and really any style in the DISC wheel can move into sarcasm or cynicism. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is also an episode on the DISC. It's an assessment that I use with the folks I work with. Very helpful in understanding our own communication and interpersonal style, how it lands with other people, and how we can modify our behaviors and communication to better meet the other person's DISC style. So we call that flexing. So how we are communicating lands with them the way we intend it to, instead of missing the mark. Okay, a few final thoughts. To reiterate, jealousy in estrangement isn't a villain. It's a clue. We look at it to inform us. We own it. We work to understand it, identify where it's coming from, move ourselves through that, give ourselves some grace in feeling it. And then as we name it, it begins to dissipate. We can make it so that it's manageable and less of an overriding experience where we become childish, immature, we regress into old negative behaviors, and we can understand our adult child's behavior differently when we can identify that there's jealousy behind some of what's motivating them, some of how they are reacting. I want to encourage you to consider a time when you felt really jealous. Reflect on it, give it some time. Some people say marinate on it. I love that term. And then look at how it shows up in your family, how it shows up in your conversations, and work your way through that. I think you'll find it to be really helpful, really informative, to give that jealousy some space and time, pull it out of the dark corners and shine a light on it. So let me wind this up by saying thank you for tuning in, for listening, for considering what we're talking about here. I want you to look for other episodes that have been mentioned in this podcast, and there may be some that I listed that are in the premier content. You'll need a subscription in order to listen to those. I think it's worth, the cup of coffee or two worth of subscription cost every month. You need to make that decision for yourself. You can listen to episodes that do not require the subscription. They are available to you at no cost. However, the episodes that are behind the subscription wall tend to be the more sensitive topics and a deeper dive into the topics that we talk about in the free and available podcast episodes. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you giving me your time. I appreciate the difficulty of the situation you're in. All of our circumstances are different. The themes are most often common and similar. Jump over to the website, whenouradultchildrenwalkaway.com. Send me a note, email directly. I do respond to my email personally. It sometimes takes a day or two. If I'm not responding after 72 hours, make sure you reach out again, because then there's something wrong with the contact. I'm either not getting your email, it's going into spam, something's happening. So until we talk again, until you tune into the next episode, I want you to remember to be brave, and I want you to remember you are not alone.